Hi, my name is Tim Parker, and today I'm going to discuss my capstone research into the relationship between diversity and profits. I chose this field of study or topic of study because I believe more can be done to increase inclusiveness, and profits are a proven way to motivate business. I believe inclusiveness is important. So my hypothesis is that businesses with a more diverse workforce are more profitable than businesses with a less diverse workforce. I sampled 30 technology companies, compared diversity indices against profitability ratios, and one of the things that I found was a statistically significant relationship between executive diversity and operating profit margin. There were, however, issues with the sample, but I do believe that the methodology is useful. So my methodology is a quick overview. I collected company demographic data, computed diversity indices. I collected financial data, then computed profitability ratios, and then I conducted statistical analysis and analyzed the results. So when I collected demographic data, I used the EEO1. So the EEO1 accounts for gender across 7 different racial categories and 10 different job categories for a total of 140 different data points. This example shows how Apple's 89,072 employees are accounted for by gender and racial categories on the EEO1. Once I collect all the data from the EEO1s, I then calculate the Simpson's Diversity Index. This index was developed by Edward Simpson in 1949 to address diversity of a species within an ecosystem. This index is very well suited for measuring diversity within a company. This index provides an objective, time-tested measure of diversity. The example here shows how the index provides a way to objectively compare diversity across firms of different sizes. Company A is a completely homogeneous group company which has an SDI of 0. As we move down the list, we see that the SDI increases as the numbers are distributed more evenly across the groups until we reach Company D, which has the same number of members in each group. Excuse me. Next, I collected financial data. I collected financial data through the Securities and Exchange Commission's website, which has the 10Ks for publicly traded companies. Once I had this data, I computed the profitability ratios. Specifically, I looked at the gross profit margin, operating profit margin, and return on equity. So once I had all this information, the indices from my diversity, from the Simpson's Diversity Index, as well as these profitability ratios, I ran 6 separate regression analysis using IBM's SPSS. So I took the race and gender SDIs and ran those against all 3 profit measures individually. And then I took the executive race and gender diversity indices and ran those against all 3 profitability measures. The results have basically resulted in only one statistically significant relationship, and that was between the executive level diversity and operating profit margin. No other relationships were statistically significant. For executive diversity and operating profit margin, I highlighted the key pieces of information here. The R-squared was 0.243 and the p-value was 0.41, which is less than 0.05, indicating that that R-squared is significantly greater than 0. So the big takeaway that I brought from this research is that the model has value, but it needs better inputs. Specifically, there were sample issues. The EEO1s are not publicly available, which means that the ones I was able to collect and include in my sample are likely from companies with strong diversity records. Companies with poor diversity records are probably not very likely to make theirs publicly available. Another issue with the sample is the sample years that I had to use. This was because the lack of availability, of the EEO1s. So my years sample went all the way from 2010 to 2020. with the bulk of them taking place in 2017 and 2016. However, there was a good variety within those years, and lots of different things took place during that decade, which can affect profitability beyond just diversity. And lastly, I included that there was no accounting for a company's life cycle. So this sample included firms like Apple, which has been around since 1980, and then Slacker Technologies Incorporated, which just had its initial public offering last year. So based on these sampling issues alone, I do not advocate that my study supports my hypothesis that businesses with a more diverse workforce are more profitable than businesses with a less diverse workforce. I do believe the methodology using the SDI and profit ratios to explore the relationship between the two is worthy of additional study, but with much better data. Thank you so much for your time. God bless.